Okay, after the presentation on DBS sample collection, we will move to the next presentation, which is on DBS drying, packaging, and transportation. The objectives of this particular presentation is to understand the steps which are going to use for DBS drying, the steps for DBS packaging, what are the acceptance and rejection criteria for DBS specimen, which is going to be used for viral load testing, and the transportation of DBS specimen from ARTC, linked ARTC, TI sites to viral load laboratories. First, we'll see what are the rejection criteria which have been implemented in this program or in this activity. So the first rejection criteria is when not enough blood is being collected on the DBS card. In such scenario, you can see these are the 5 spots which are not fully completely filled by the blood. So these are the incomplete blood. So what could be the solution to avoid such scenarios? Make sure the area is warm and properly positioned, which will help the blood flow well for the sample collection so that the whole circle can get filled. Don't squeeze right on a puncture site. Squeeze if you at all want to squeeze the whole hand, not the only finger where the puncture has been done. If blood has stopped flowing from where you prick, a second prick at another site may be necessary for the proper sample collection. The next rejection criteria is layered or clotted blood. Here you can see there are multiple rings or a blood drop is added on already dried blood spot. So there is 2 layers of blood which is formed on a DBS card. This may have been made by using clotted or clotting the blood. Even if the blood get clotted, you can see these layered things. So how to avoid this layered or clotted blood formation on a DBS card? Touch the card to the blood drop when it looks heavy and ready to fall only, not before that. This is the right amount of blood which will completely fill the whole circle. If a drop is too small and the spot is still wet, another drop can be placed on a top. Otherwise, move to another spot. If you, during collection, if you see a very small drop has been added to the circle, which is not yet completely filled, when the drop is still wet, you can add another drop to completely fill the circle. But don't add any additional drop once the blood drop on DBS card dried up. Never use clotting or clotted blood to make a DBS. The next rejection criteria is formation of serum rings or alcohol contamination during collection. The yellow rings around the blood spot means the blood is contaminated or already got separated. The alcohol may not have dried before the prick was made. In such case, when the alcohol is not completely dried up, you will get such type of scenarios. This can also happen from squeezing the puncture site. Because of this pressure, plasma may ooze out the leaking puncture site and it may get mixed with the blood and it will form the rings. Also, it could also happen due to lack of mixing of irrigated tube prior to spotting if you are using the blood obtained from venipuncture. This is one particular scenario when instead of pricking the fingertip, if you are using a already collected blood in irrigated tube to prepare the blood spot, in that case, if the irrigated tube is not been mixed properly with the, if irrigated tube is not inverted properly for a proper mixing of the blood, in such scenario, you will get these serum rings. So how to avoid this formation of serum rings or alcohol contamination? After cleaning the area, allow the alcohol to dry at least for 30 seconds before the pricking the finger. Use gentle squeezing of the whole hand, not the proper puncture finger or puncture site, so as to avoid the plasma leaking. Next rejection criteria is too much of blood is added to the DBS spots. This may happen when the blood has been applied with a syringe or incorrectly set pipette. The blood has soaked through the other side of the card. If the too much of blood added, all these circles or all the spots get mixed together and this particular sample is unsuitable for DBS testing. So how to prevent such scenario? Use appropriate volume for spotting the DBS if you are using pipettes or syringe. And do not overfill any of the circle. Other rejection criteria is poor collection technique. You can see none of the spot is completely filled and there is sparsely drops of blood are placed on a one circle. The blood may have been clotted when dropped on the card. This may happen because more than one drop is applied to each of the circle and you can see none of the circles are completely filled. So how to avoid this? Wait for a large drop to collect before touching the blood to the paper. A drop of blood that falls on its own is the perfect size, which completely fills the whole circle. And never touch the skin to the paper when applying the blood to the DBS card. So after identifying all the DBS card which you have collected are being proper and fulfilling all acceptance criteria, none of them being rejected, we will move further for packaging and transportation of DBS samples. So before packaging and transportation, we all know we have decided to transport the sample to the viral load laboratory twice a week. So during this period, after collection till its transportation, we need to store the sample in our facility till it gets transported. So how to store the sample till its transportation, we're going to see in these slides. The DBS specimen should be air dried before packaging, preferably for at least 4 hours or overnight. The specimen should be stored in an airtight Ziploc plastic bag with desiccants and humidity indicator cards. Avoid exposure to direct sunlight and any heat. Card must be labeled with appropriate identifiers. So this is the picture of Ziploc bag with desiccants. The packing of DBS card should be accompanied with the desiccant sachets. Desiccant sachets absorb the humidity which is available there inside that card so that the inside of the Ziploc bag remains in dry condition. These sachets contain silica which absorb the moisture. So this is how the humidity card looks like. This card indicates the percentage of humidity in the surrounding. The blue indicates proper storage condition without any humidity. That means when it is total dry, it will show the blue color. While the pink indicates there is a wetness and humidity. Such cards or such DBS, whenever the humidity indicator card shows this pink color, that is not the good sign for storage condition. Check the color of the humidity indicator card on daily basis. Anytime during storage, if the blue color softens, change the card and replace the moist silica, which is desiccants, which are in sachets, with the fresh dry sachets or dry desiccant packets. Then we'll see how to pack the DBS for storage and transportation. Wrap each of the DBS card with a folded sheet of glazed paper and place the glazed paper wrapped cards into a low gas permeable zip closure plastic bag, nothing but our Ziploc bag, which has been provided to you in your supplies. You can store up to 10 individually glycerin wrapped cards in a humidity proof bags. Each bag should have at least 10 desiccant bags or sachets and 1 humidity indicator card. Keep all the packaged DBS cards in a Ziploc bag at 2 to 8 degrees Celsius until transportation. That means we have to keep the Ziploc bag inside the refrigerator. Do not freeze or do not keep this Ziploc bag in a freezer compartment of refrigerator. At any time, if the humidity indicator card shows softening of blue color or appearance of the pink color, immediately replace the desiccant sachets and the humidity indicator card. These cards are reusable. These sachets are also reusable. So how to recharge this humidity indicator card and desiccant sachets? Place these sachets and humidity indicator card at 50 to 60 degrees Celsius in an oven for at least 3 to 4 hours. It will again regain the blue color in humidity indicator card, and whatever desiccant cards which become moistened because of humidity again become dry and ready to reuse again. The packaging of DBS for storage and transportation. You have to label the contents of Ziploc bag with name of the ART, your ART center or LSC center or LSC plus or TI sites wherever you are collecting these DBS cards, and write down the total number of cards inside one Ziploc bag. How to transport? Before transporting, take out the stored Ziploc bags from the refrigerator at least 1 hour before packaging to prevent the accumulation of moisture. Replace the humidity indicator card and desiccant sachets from the Ziploc bag and replace it with the fresh ones. Again, seal the Ziploc bag properly. When the contents have come to room temperature, at least 20 to 25 degrees Celsius, place the Ziploc bag containing the DBS cards in an envelope with other documents. In subsequent slides, we'll see what are the other documents to be placed along with this Ziploc bag in a transport packet. Place the Ziploc bag containing DBS card in bubbled or padded envelopes labeled with the address of viral load laboratory where we are sending our samples for testing and the sender's address with contact details. Place the copies of the TRFs without bending the barcodes. In previous lecture, we had seen that whatever remaining barcodes and sample IDs available at the ART or collection site has to be sent along with the sample to viral load laboratory. The precaution need to be taken in such a way that barcode should not get bent. Place the sample transportation log with the names of all patients in a bubble or padded envelope. Seal the envelope and attach biohazard logo to the bubble or padded envelope, which is now ready to ship. This is the details of the label which we are going to place on our transportation pack, mentioning the details where we are sending, that is details of the viral load laboratory and our sender's detail. The transportation consignment, which consists of DBS cards, TRFs, sample transportation log, we have to post it twice a week, at least Tuesday and Friday, which already been mentioned clearly in last presentation. Hand over the package to the postal service to be sent to the designated viral load laboratory. This is the just overview and flow chart how this sample packaging, storing and transportation happens. In pictorial graphics, it has been mentioned from sample collection till that, from drying, packaging, storing till transportation, removing, repackaging along with these documents and sealing and sending it through postal services to viral load laboratories. Then what are the various roles and responsibilities at different facility levels for conducting this activity? At ARTCs, there are 6 ARTCs which are doing collections. The roles and responsibility of ART centers are filling of TRFs in duplicates with barcode labeled, sample collection as per the standard operating procedures, sample packaging as per the SOP, then IMS entry, couriering samples, TRFs and sample transportation logs to testing viral load laboratories, downloading and printing the reports received from viral load laboratories and follow up as per the guidelines. Then maintain the postage cost log. There are 4 ART centers which have been linked with LSCs and TI NGOs which are doing collections under them. What are their roles and responsibilities? First, these ARTC need to share the list of eligible PLHIV for viral testing and pre-printed barcodes to the linked LSCs and TI NGOs wherever sample collection is going to happen. IMS entry when the scanned TRFs are received from the LSCs and TI NGOs after sample collection at those sites. Countercheck the IMS entries with hard copies when they are received from LSCs and TI NGOs. Email the reports which they have received from viral load laboratories to LSCs and TIs when so that it can be distributed and can be given to the PLHIV. And follow up of unsuppressed PLHIV as per the national guidelines. So what are the roles and responsibilities of LSCs and TI NGOs? There are 3 LSCs and 3 TI NGOs which are collecting sample collection at their sites. They have to generate the TRF, and here in LSCs and TI NGOs, they have to generate TRF in triplicate as per the list obtained from ARTCs with barcode attached. Then collect the sample as per SOP, package the sample as per SOP, packaging SOP. Then couriering the samples, TRF sample transportation log to the viral load laboratory twice weekly. scan the TRFs and sample transportation log and send this soft copy to ARTCs on the same day it is couriered to the wire load laboratory. Couriering TRFs sample transportation log to ARTCs on the same day samples are couriered to wire load laboratories. Then downloading the reports and printing of the reports which they received from their linked ARTCs and follow up as per the guidelines. Specifically all those PLHIV who shows the wire load count of more than 1,000 copies per ml for further follow-up and maintain the postage cost log. This is just the recap of roles and responsibilities of various levels. At ARTC, filling of TRs, which is in duplicate, collection as per SOP, fill the duplicate TRF in duplicate, one for the TRFs. One of the TRFs will go to wire load laboratory by post. One will stay at ARTC. Paste or stick the barcode stickers on the TRFs sent to wire load laboratory. Paste the same test ID stickers on the DBS card after collecting the samples. Paste the same test ID on the green book, sample packaging as per SOPs, then IMS entry, couriering samples, TRFs and sample transportation log to the wire load lab, update the VL test results details into the white card and maintain the postage cost log. Then the role of the ARTC with collection at TI and link ARTC. The ARTC to share the eligible list by email, ARTC to share the pre-printed unique sample IDs with the TI NGOs and LSC Plus. Follow up with the TI NGOs and LSCs for sample collection as per schedules shared by the TI NGO and LSC Plus. Scan TRFs to be obtained from the TI NGOs and LSC Plus. Update the IMS on the same day so that the data can be transmitted to wire load lab for result entry. Tally the IMS information of data entry when hard copies are received from the LSA and TI sites. Follow up with the VL lab for VL test results. Share the scan test results with the TI NGOs and LSC within 24 hours of receipt from the VL laboratories and update the wire load test details in white card. The roles LSC Plus and TI NGOs in this activity is based on the eligible list which they received from ARTC, prepare the schedule for the wire load test sample collection. Fill the TRF in triplicate. One of the TRFs will go to wire load lab by post, one will go to the ARTC by post, and one will stay in TI LSC sites. Paste the barcode stickers on the TRF sent to wire load lab as well as ARTC. Paste the same ID stickers on a DBS card and collect the samples. Paste the test ID on a green book. Scan TRFs to be emailed to the ARTC for updating the IMS on the day when the samples are posted to wire load laboratory. DBS card along with TRFs and the sample transportation log will be sent to wire load laboratory. This activity happens twice. This sample transportation will happen twice a week. Post hard copies of all TRFs and sample transportation log to ARTCs. Follow up with ARTC for the result and share the result with PLHIV. And if any PLHIV found to be having copies more than 1,000 copies per ml, refer such PLHIVs to ARTC for further follow-up and maintain the postage cost log. Thank you.